Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. We are joined by Bane. But in today's vlog, I will be reading the entirety of the From Blood and Ash series. So last year, I believe, I read both From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I gave From Blood and Ash 4 stars, I think, and then I gave Kingdom of Flesh and Fire 2 stars. But I really want to continue and finish out this series, and I'm done with my TBR for the year. So I thought I could knock out some of the series that I still want to read or haven't read yet. Because it had been so long since I read From Blood and Ash, I decided to do a reread, and that's what kind of sparked the idea for this video. So if you don't already know, and for some reason you're watching this having no idea what this series is about, this is about Poppy, who is a maiden. And this basically means that she is a special, high, like courtly lady, and she is supposed to wear a veil. She's supposed to remain pure. And she has some magical gifts that are supposed to help her kingdom when she goes through this ascension ceremony. Now, this ascension ceremony is basically a ceremony in which the person in the ceremony drinks the blood of the gods and they become immortal and like strong and all of that kind of stuff. And then you also have the rite ceremony in which the second child of every family is given over in the service of the gods. So in the beginning of this book, Poppy is introduced to Hawk, who is the love interest through the remainder of the series in addition to this book, and he is a part of the Royal Guard. And she has a steamy-ish encounter with him in the first couple of chapters, and then when people start getting attacked in the kingdom, she loses her bodyguard and he becomes her bodyguard, and they start up a little fling, and meanwhile she's trying to investigate into the murders that are happening, or the attacks that are happening, and she and everybody else sort of assumes it's the Atlanteans. And the story goes that the Atlanteans were the original like kingdom, and then they were rebelled against because they were doing sketchy shit. They were creating things called the Cravens by drinking people's blood and then making them into monsters, and so they were overthrown and the entire royal family was slaughtered except one son named Prince Castile. And now they are in hiding, and they are making Craven still, who are these like monsters, these beasts they have really sharp claws, and they eat people basically, and if you get bitten by one, you turn into a Craven and have to be killed. They assume that it is the Atlanteans trying to make a comeback, or at least the dissenters who are members of their kingdom who are trying to support the Atlanteans doing the attacks. And so she's investigating into that, and she has her romantic relationship with Hawk, and then towards the end of the book she like discovers the truth, and we go into A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire with her about to marry Hawk. So if for some reason you are not you haven't read the series and you want to avoid spoilers, I would click off now, and I'll catch you guys in my next video, because I'm obviously going to be talking about spoilers with the series. So yeah, so we start off with Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. We have discovered that the true story is that the Atlanteans, there was an Atlantean who fell in love with a mortal, and he wasn't allowed to do that, and so he tried to change her into an Atlantean, which are, you know, these immortal beings that are essentially vampires who drink the blood of other Atlanteans, and she ended up being turned into a Craven. And they basically made this rule that like no mortals could be turned, and they rebelled against this, and that formed the Macedonians. The Macedonians are essentially the vampires, the people that are changing the Craven. And we find out that Castile, who is Hawk, is the prince of the Atlantean royal family. His parents are alive, and the Macedonians have captured his brother, they originally captured Castile. His brother rescued him and took his place, and they are using his brother to turn, the Ascension ceremony is turning people into the vampire, and then they subsist off of the people that are given over in the right. So she is now going to marry Hawk Castile, and they're going to use her to get the intention. Castile's intention is to use her to get back his brother. They're going to use her as like a bargaining chip because she is half Atlantean. We ended the book with that. They are going to get married. She's going to go to his castle or his home kingdom, meet the parents, and we're gonna go from there. At this point, she's just like in a village that is full of dissenters or people that are in support of the Atlanteans and want to overthrow the current government. First time I read it, I didn't like it. I found the info dump to be very annoying and the twist to be annoying as well. So going in the second time, I hope I enjoy it a little bit better, at least scrape a 3-star, because I want to enjoy this series. I want to have a fantasy romance series that I really enjoy, and that I can return to. And like I said in the video where I reread this one, even if like the rest of the series isn't the best, I still will probably return to this every once in a while when I need a comfort read. So I am going to get some portion of the way through this, probably about 100 pages, and then update you. I've done 20 pages worth of reading, but you know, it doesn't really mean much. So I'm gonna get about 100 pages in, and I'm gonna update you again. Okay, friends, I am halfway through A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and I'm kind of just feeling meh about it, and I think the issue is that I know the ending, and so like all of the setup and stuff that's happening is gonna piss me off because I know the ending of this book. So basically all that has happened in the 313 pages is Poppy and Hawk were stayed at this one village. They got attacked by an Ascended. She gets kidnapped for like a half a page. She finds out some more about this world. She finds out about some old bloodlines. She thinks that she might be an empath warrior, which they could feel people's emotions and like manipulate their emotions and stuff. She has had some like interactions with people in the court. She found out that she's gonna be queen one day if she marries him and stays married to him. And that's pretty much it, I think. People of the village, the town that they were staying in, have to leave because the Ascended found out that she was staying there. So they're all going to Spence's End, which is supposed to be like, I guess, safe haven for Atlanteans, like an Atlantean outpost or whatever. So they're going there, and then they're going to go to the kingdom of Atlantia to meet his parents. But first they're going to get married with the intention of their marriage showing people that Atlanteans aren't bad, because the Macedonians have told their people that an Atlantean's bite is bad, you know, like it'll turn people into craven. And obviously Poppy's been kissed and bitten by him at this point, and she's like not turned. And so they're hoping that a marriage between the two of them will open their eyes and sort of like overthrow the Ascended, or at least get their people to start thinking about it. There can be some sort of peaceful negotiation for his brother back instead of a war, and maybe the Atlanteans will become the rulers, and then the Ascended will still keep their land and stuff, but they'll have to like control their bloodlust and stuff like that. She's kind of just been like putting herself in the public's eye and like trying to win them over. And given what happens at the end of this book, like that just feels like a waste of space of page count. At this point, they have had one like true sexual experience. They're not together, like at least behind closed doors. The issue that I have with this book is they have the same arguments over and 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 over. Literally the same conversations. She's like, I'm gonna stab you. And he's like, you're so violent, but it turns me on. Literally the same conversation every time they meet. It's so irritating. Either we're getting info dumping of the world literally learned through books, or we're getting them having the same conversation 1,000 times and not even in different ways. So it's just not well done I think. And like I said, all of this like attempts to make her loved by them is just pointless. So yeah, I'm gonna update you again when I'm done, but I have a feeling my opinion's not gonna change. The first time I read this, like, I didn't hate it. I gave it 2 stars because, like, it's not a good book, in my opinion. And it pissed me off. Like, the ending genuinely pisses me off. And I can't foresee it being any more than a 3-star. Depending on how I feel with the ending again, it could either be a 3 or a 2-star. But I think I was just so shocked. It felt like I wasted my time when I read it the first time. Because, like, this is a 640-page book of nothing, essentially. And so I felt like the respect for my time as a reader was not there. So it's not horrible, but it's not fantastic. So those are kind of my thoughts. I'll update you when I'm done.
Hopefully they kind of look into that, but I just don't want it to be like it was last season where it was like push, cough, King's Row, someone left, push, cough.
Okay, friends, I have finished our good friend here, Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I'm gonna keep the 2 stars. I'm gonna keep the 2 stars. I didn't have such a bad reaction the second time around as I did the first time, but I still didn't like it. And I even remembered a thing that I didn't like as I was getting through the book. So first off, this book could have been like 250 to 300 pages less and it would have been fine. I have 2 main issues with this book. We'll start with the one that is the less egregious in my opinion. The entire time they spend fighting. And if you have already seen my one vlog about this book, I'm gonna repeat myself. So go ahead and skip ahead to the timestamp to the next book if you have already heard these opinions. But she realizes that she's in love with Castile, right? She's like, I can get past the things that he did, like I understood why he did what he did and I can get past it, like I'm good with it and I'm in love with him. And she goes on like a 1.5 page exposition about why she loves him. He pushes her, he challenges her, they have a lot of sex, which that's really it. He gives her agency. He never takes a dagger or a sword out of her hand. He understands why she wants to fight. All that. That was like the main portion of the reason why she loves him. We get to the large conflict of this book and he turns to her and says, "You're leaving, you're not fighting." I'm sorry. He was like, this is different than every other time. So that reason that you loved him is just irrelevant now. Because he tried to do the things that were done to you. Like the things that the reason you loved him, he just eliminated all that. Because like he's, what? Oh, and then, this is the glaring issue for me. And this is why I gave it 2 stars the first time, and well, I'm still giving it 2 stars. This book is 628 pages, okay? At the end of the last book, the twist was that they were going to get married. He was going to take her to Atlantia, they were going to get married. They don't get married until, do they even get married in this book? I'm pretty sure they do, but it doesn't happen until the last like 600 pages. Or the last like, it doesn't happen until after the 600 page mark. And then, at the very end, we spent this entire book with them traveling, them stopping at these villages. They only travel twice, by the way. Them stopping at these places in Atlantia where these dissenters and Atlanteans are living. And she's like healing them and fighting alongside them and protecting them and, you know, showing that she cares and doing all of these things. And then at the end, it's revealed that she's a fucking god or a deity or a descendant of a deity, making her like automatically the queen of Atlantia. Why did I just read 600 pages of this girl battling internally, externally, with Castile, with Kyrian, with every other fucking character in the book about her worthiness as an Atlantean, her trying to prove herself, her going to all these monuments and saying like, oh, Atlanteans aren't that bad. They're not horrible people. But they'll never accept me, and I want to be accepted because they're my people. And all of that was for nothing. All that relationship building that she did, all that trust building that she did with the Atlantean people, done. It is extinguished by one page where it's revealed that she is a deity descendant or whatever the fuck, and is now the rightful queen. What? That is the dumbest shit I have ever heard. Dumbest fucking shit I have ever heard. That is the biggest waste of 600 pages. It's the biggest waste of a book that I have ever read. And I'm like, I hope for the love of God we go into the next book and all of the Atlanteans are like, yeah, fuck her. Like, we don't recognize her as the queen. Like, she can fuck right off. She can go back to the Ascended, so that she will actually have a reason that, like, she'll actually still have to gain their trust. Because if not, I mean, either way, this is a waste of time, because I just spent 600 pages with her having to build their trust, and then she goes there and she doesn't have their trust anyway. So I don't fucking know. I don't know. Awful book. Absolutely, truly terrible. It makes me angry. I wasted so many pages of this, and I want to read you my Goodreads review, because I have kind of said that all of the same things already, but this, I feel like, is a good summation of my feelings about this book. If you liked From Blood and Ash just okay and were wondering if you should continue, don't. This was the most boringly long filler book I have ever read. If JLA was trying to establish a relationship and sympathies between Poppy and the Atlantean, she did a terrible job. Not only was this unnecessarily long and bogged down with the most pointless world building, no character growth existed, and all of the character growth she worked on for 600 pages was made entirely useless by that ending. All of the edgy sexiness of the first one was completely obliterated here, and by the 300 page mark, I was bored of the same two arguments happening between Castile and Poppy. I was annoyed having to read the same "she likes to stab me and I think it's hot" joke over and over again. JLA tried to make this innovative with the world building and sexy with the smutty scenes and failed in both respects. Good job, past Ashley. I could not have said it better myself. I'm gonna go on to the third book, because like I said, the entire point of this is like reading the series, getting it off, you know, I have it, like I want to read it, I want to enjoy it. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read it. I just need a break. I'm gonna go read something else for a video coming later in the month, and we're gonna come back with Gilded Crowns, or whatever the fuck the second book is, and we're gonna pray that it's not this bad, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to read another bad one that's 2 stars and then still be able to read the 4th book. I'm still undecided if I want to read the other series. I've heard it's literally a carbon copy of From Blood and Ash, the first book in this series. I don't know. So I'm like emotioned out, I think. Honestly, I didn't read and pay attention to the last like 100 pages. I skimmed it so hard. I was literally going like this, like reading dialogue, just like reading the dialogue and then going to the next page, because yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna come back when I am in the headspace to give the 3rd book a fair shot, because at the moment I'm just baffled. So okay, friends, say hi to Gotham. Hi, Gotham. So I am 25% of the way through The Crown of Gilded Bones, and this is what the fuck I'm talking about when I say I enjoy this series. So at the end of the last book, like I said, we find out that she is a deity, or the descendant of a deity. She has all of these magical powers, and that she's like the true queen of Atlantia, because we found out in an earlier clip, in an earlier part of the book, that they have like automatic rights to the title, the crown or whatever. She has an altercation with everybody that, like, all the Atlanteans, they're all there. Castile, Kyrian, all the wolves are there because she has made some sort of like primal call and broken all of the bonds between Atlanteans and wolves, so like they basically answer to her now. And then someone tries to kill her, and they take her to like a underground cave in a mountain near the Atlantean city, and they're planning to take her back to the Ascended. And I will say, so like the person that did it was Alistair, who was someone that was close with Castile when he was younger. He was the bonded wolf to the original king, the one that started the vampires and all that. And he seemed more like a father figure. We found out that's not necessarily true. We found out he was partially responsible for her parents' death, and now he is trying to give her back to the Ascended to basically make her like a bomb. Basically, he knows that she won't go down fighting, that she will kill as many Ascended as she can, but also that she just needs to leave the Atlanteans because she's obviously a danger. Because when she was in that attack where she was taken, they pierced Kyrian and Castile and all of these other people with this arrow that turned them to stone. And she like loses her shit, basically brings the whole area down, like a whole building and everything. And so they think she's a danger to the kingdom, and they want to get her out. So then we go to the meeting place of the Atlantean and for the Ascended, and Castile and everybody gets her back. We end the 25% mark finding out that she died because of an arrow that pierced her, but Castile ascended her, but she's not an Ascended. She's not a vampire for some reason. We don't know why, but we ended the scene with them cuddling and having sex and saying I love you and all that kind of stuff. They did get married. I forgot about that. They did get married in the last book. They found their heart mates, which are like soulmates, but like heart and soulmates or whatever. There's an entire group of Atlanteans that are like the true protectors of Atlantia, who are trying to like make the kingdom great again, which I hate when authors make that nod with villains to, because it just like makes me think about things in the real world that I don't want to think about, and it pulls me out of the story and I hate it. But so there's an entire group of the protectors led by the original captain of the guard who helped Castile get to Poppy to begin with, who was like an implanted Atlantean in the Ascended Kingdom, Jensen, who is a shapeshifter. And then we also have Alistair, who, like I mentioned before, they are leading the protectors, or they were. They're now dead, but, so they planned to give her back to the Ascended, so that they could stage a coup against the current king and queen if they aren't willing to go to war. Because the whole idea, like, that Castile presented was they were gonna amicably work with the Ascended to get them off the throne, get them to control their bloodlust, and to, is my eyesight going or am I blurry? If I'm blurry, I'm really sorry, I can't tell. To get them off the throne and to basically go to war with the Ascended to take back their land, which is the opposite of what Castile wanted. And so they're going to stage a coup to go to war, and if the king and queen don't agree, they're going to kill them. They're definitely going to kill Castile, and that was the plan. Give her back to the Ascended, start a war with the Ascended, have her take out as many Ascended as she could, and then them come in and reclaim and put whoever in power. Super fast paced, super interesting. This was the energy that I was craving from the last book. Like, I get that not all 600 pages are going to be like high action, but I need something. I just needed that refresh after the last book. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to continue, and I'm like fully in it again. I haven't read or listened to anybody talk about this book, because when people talk about this series, I kind of zone out. because I knew one day I wanted to continue, so I didn't want to hear anything about it that would sway my opinion. So I don't even know if people like this book. People don't like this book. I'm assuming at this point, if you've read the 3rd book in the series and all of the books are 600 pages, you probably enjoy the series, so you're probably likely to go on to the 4th book. And is there a 5th book? I don't know. But I don't know if people like this particular one. But something that I remember happening when the last book in the series came out was people were pissed about the joining, which is basically like this magical threesome. But now that all the woven bonds are broken, that I think they're broken, I don't know if that's actually true at this point or not, but now that they're broken, the joining doesn't even need to happen. But people were pissed about it in the next book. Is it that like it wasn't talked about? But it's very obvious that the bond is broken because like Carrion almost attacks Castile. I don't know. I just remember the last book people were like literally protesting her book. So yeah, I'm excited to continue, and I'm hoping that I really enjoy the last 2 books because it'll make this video a lot easier. So I will talk to you again when I'm halfway through. Okay, so I am halfway through The Crown of Gilded Bones. The last time I updated you, I was not 25% of the way through, by the way. After we had her not ascending slash not ascending, not much has happened. We had a lot of exposition, and we had one attack from the group that we think that Alistair might have been a part of, but we don't really know. And we also, through that exposition, learned that while most people think that Atlantia and Carcedonia and all of them, like their realm is different than the gods' realm, it's actually not. There's this thing called the Shadowlands, and there's also something else, like the veil to the other side, or veil is the death, or some shit like that. I don't know. Okay, so like it's not new for me to say that her writing style, the way that she reveals information, the way that she builds her world and provides world building is not great. It's very info dumpy. It's the issue that I have with her books in particular, like the second one and this one, is it's like a bunch of info for like 200 pages and then 100 pages of actual action. And in particular, the last book was like 550 pages of nothing, of exposition and world building, and like 50 pages of actual action, which it's not fun to read. Like I wish that she had, I don't know how I wish that she had like revealed her world to us, but having it so involved and having us learning about it in the way that she's going about it is very taxing to read. I don't want to say that I'm not enjoying it, because I am. Like, it's a fun book. There are just things that I have issues with. Namely, like I said, them dumping all of the world building in like very short periods of time. And also the same repetitive jokes about how she always has questions, which is how we're finding out the information, because she'll ask a question and then someone will just dump a bunch of world building onto us. And then also the jokes about like her stabbing people. Like, it's just the same jokes over and over again, same conversations that lead to these expositions, and it's just exhausting. It's taxing, it's exhausting, and I wish that it had been done a different way. If we had gotten world building that was dumped in this way a couple of times, I could look past it. But the fact that I have now read over 1,000 pages of it like this, it's just too much. It's too much, and it's not well done, in my opinion. So I don't know how she could have conveyed all of this information to us, all this world building to us, but it's just like shock after shock and constantly new information, and there's no real like grounding. Like, there's never, even though not much is happening and even though the characters are really staying in one place the majority of the story so far, there's nothing to ground the story in place, because you're always just learning new information. You're never just sitting with what you've learned. You're just getting rammed with new stuff, and the world is constantly changing, and it's exhausting to read. But I'm getting through it, because this book is better than the second one, like leagues better. The second one was just every issue compounded into one book. Like every issue with her writing, with her character development, with the world building, with all of it compounded into one book. At least the first one, and this one, I have some issues, but there are other things that are like carrying it. So I'm enjoying the, like, her possibly having to be queen, and what is she, like, what is her true nature, because she didn't ascend. We know that she can now bring people back from the dead, essentially, because we saw a girl who had been run over by a carriage, and she had healed people previously. She healed one person who was a Wolven, and they had like broken legs and stuff, but this new girl, she was like dead for all intents and purposes, and she brought her back from the dead. So there is the assumption that she is a god, and like everybody's considering her a goddess, and everybody's bowing to her like they're her queen, and or they're like she's their queen. And so it's interesting to see how it's going to go. Like, obviously I know she's going to end up being she's gonna end up taking the throne. I don't really think there's a question there, but I still quite haven't figured out what she is. Like, I know that she's descendant of the king that like started making the vampires, and I know that he is a descendant of the god of Nycox or something, like Nick something, who is the god of life and death. But we don't really know what that means. We don't know what that means for her parents. The same questions that she's asked throughout the whole series, she's still asking. Like, what's the status with her parents? What's going on with her brother? What's going on with her best friend? And I think that's just compounding with more questions, and I would like some resolution in some places and then add new questions. But just compounding everything together is making it, again, just exhausting. And then adding new information is just, it's too much. At this point, we've lost the thread of things that we were planning from the first and second book. So like rescuing her brother and getting his brother back. Like, we're losing the threads. We're now introducing different realms into the story, and like going into different realms and traveling to different realms. And we still have all this over here that's undealt with. So it makes me feel like the last book, which I think is, let's see, it's quite a bit larger. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so much larger, but it is, it is the same page count, but longer, obviously, because it's literally like bigger. It makes me think that there's going to be either not a lot of stuff addressed, there's going to be a lot of plot lines that are left, or this is going to wrap up in an unsatisfactory way, with, again, more explanation needed. So I think it's just going to be either a combination of those two, or one or the other, or I just have a feeling that the ending is going to be unsatisfactory. The fact that people raged at the last book, and they disguised it as like, oh, the joining didn't happen or whatever. I think it's going to be a multitude of things, because I think if people really loved the book and that was their only complaint, I don't think they would rage in the way that they did. But like, that was like their one hope, I guess. I don't know. I don't know the reasoning behind that whole thing, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little more unsatisfactory than we were all anticipating, which, given what I've read, it's not shocking, and I'm already anticipating it, you know, only 300 pages into the second to last book, but I am like enjoying the reading process, and like I was sitting here reading the first couple 100 pages, and I was like, yeah, like I could see myself rereading this series. I could see myself like this being a comfort read, and going back to it, and annotating it, and like all of that. Sort of like Sarah J. Maas's books, where they're not the best. I have their issue. I have issues with them, but they're like comfort reads, and I can see that with this. So we will talk again when I have finished the book, and hopefully that clip is going to go a lot better than that last clip from Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, or whatever that book's called, went, because I don't want to rage. I want to enjoy. I want to enjoy. I want to enjoy. I want to love it. All right, so last night I finished Crown of Gilded Bones, and my gut reaction is to give this a 3-star, like a high 3-star. I liked the ending. I liked the twist, the couple of twists. I like the like angst and stuff in the relationship that this ending brought. I don't like how slow this continues to be, and I don't need to like keep beating that, you know, proverbial dead horse, because I've said it every single update. I don't like Castiel having to be re-traumatized. Something that I've avoided talking to you about is my feelings on the relationship. In the first book, it's kind of like forbidden and it's fun, and as the story has gone on, the relationship just gets really dull. If I'm reading a fantasy romance, I want my romance to be interesting. And I think the issue that I have is Castiel doesn't feel like a character. The only time we ever get anything from him is when he's talking about his past with the Ascended, where he was abused in every possible way. And then when he is like worshiping Poppy or whatever, like their conversations always go the same way, and he doesn't feel like a character. Like, he doesn't feel fleshed out. And I don't know if it's because there is such an emphasis on him being like very pro Poppy, pro equality, pro like her being her own person and yada yada yada, or if it's because there's only her point of view, or if it's just because he's not fleshed out. Everything is about Poppy. Every conversation is about what she wants. And Jennifer L. Trout even has conversations in this one where she's like, okay, but what do you want? Like, you're talking about how the choice to be queen or not is up to me, but like, what do you want? And she takes that opportunity, and then he kind of just brushes it off and like says, well, oh, I'll go with whatever you want. I don't know. I wish that more was done with his character, because he just feels like the broody love interest. I don't know, he just feels very flat. And the fact that this book hinges so much on their relationship, or this series rather, hinges so much on their relationship, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, Poppy herself is great. I do think she's kind of selfish, but I see like the threads of her personality that are interesting. And I do kind of love that we have this like character that doesn't really want power for the like typical reasons, and I like that she is going to war for kind of a selfish reason. Like, at the end of this book, we have the standoff with the Queen of the Ascended, and she reveals to us that she's actually Malachi's mistress, the one that he turned into a vampire. I figured that out. And that she's not a vampire because Malachi was a god, and gods can't make vampires, they can only make other gods, because he is the son of the god of death or whatever, the one that I said was her grandfather. And so she's a god. But that also makes Poppy a god, because she can't be a vampire. And then we find out that she's actually Malik's whatever twin brother's child, who's locked in a cage in the Ascended kingdom, and that he was ostensibly raped to produce Poppy. So I don't really know, like, so then at the end of the book, like during that confrontation, Poppy tries to attack the queen. Her name's Isabel or whatever. Isbeth. He tries to attack Isbeth using her powers. it backfires because Isabeth is also a god and has powers. And so she basically is like tearing Poppy's brain apart, and Castile sacrifices himself and says like, take me and let them go. She wakes up in Atlantia and figures out that he was taken. That's where I was talking about him being re-traumatized. Don't love that. And then that kind of sparks her figuring out who her father is, raising the dragons, because they're the guards that were protecting her grandfather, the god of life and death. The second and third child of every like all the families that were sacrificing them during the rite were being turned into these things called the remnants, who is like an army of unkillable things, and they don't really have any like agency. They have sentience, like they have feelings and things like that, but they are basically this army that has been raised since forever, since the inception of Solis, whatever the hell their main country is called, since its inception, to be a ginormous army. And so when she had gone to visit her grandfather in that like Shadowlands or whatever, he basically revealed to her that she had the powers that she needed. He wasn't going to give her his guards, who were dragons and dragon shifters, I guess. And then at the end, she's like, well, I'm just going to raise them myself because I'm a god, so like they should answer to me. And then she raises them. And so they're now going to fight. She sent a letter to the queen basically saying like, I'm coming for you. And that's sort of how we've been. I like the reveal. I saw the reveal of Isabeth's identity coming. I saw the reveal of her being Isabeth's daughter that was talked about forever ago. I didn't see the reveal about the twin. I didn't really put that much thought into it. I guess I didn't really think it was important. And I like the dragon thing. So I'm assuming what's going to happen is she's going to get her father out and he's going to help her fight. So going into the next book, I'm not optimistic that it's going to be everything that I wanted it to be, like I said in an earlier clip. But hopefully it's not quite as much exposition. Like, we're literally the last book in the series. There shouldn't be as much exposition. So, my battery's about to die. So we're going to get into A War of Two Queens, and I will update you at the 25% mark. But this is like a 3 bordering 4-star. Kind of disappointed. Hopefully this one is better. Okay, I forgot to mention this in the previous update, but the queen is not actually a god. She's just pretending to be, or she says she is. And then also Poppy is like OP, which I hate. One of my biggest pet peeves in a fantasy series is when the main character is all powerful, like the strongest there ever was, the most overpowered. And the second is when they don't have to train to use their abilities, which is both what's happening in this book. Like, both of them are Poppy. She just like knows how to use her powers, like intuitively. Someone asked her, like, there was a scene where she saved someone using her powers outside of like the healing, and they asked her how she did it, and she was like, I don't know, I just knew how. I hate that. You would think that because this series is like 600 pages per book, we would have time to develop her powers instead of doing it like this, where they're just like, I just know how to do it, like it's no big deal, like I've, you know, just recently discovered these powers and they're super strong and they take over my body, but I just know how to magically use them with no prior knowledge, no training, no nothing. It's just a convenience when we could have focused on her growing her powers in a believable way. And it just, the author chose to not do it, and it's irritating because then it lowers the stakes of everything. Like, the fact that she can just use her powers to do literally anything just means that every situation we go into, like, why would I ever be concerned with her or someone that she cares about possibly dying, main character dying, because her powers are just gonna do whatever she needs in the moment to save her. And it's just not great writing. I am 25% of the way through the War of Two Queens, and we still have fucking world building. What the? What? Okay, I have read over, what, 2,000 pages. We are on the final book of the series. This should be the accumulation of all of your plot points. There's a war that's supposed to happen, and you're still building your fucking world. You're still expanding your world. You're still introducing, like, old gods. I just... Now they're saying that Poppy doesn't know what she really is, that she's not really what she thinks she is, and they haven't done anything. Nothing's happened. They killed some dragons for no reason. Castile got his finger cut off and it was mailed to Poppy, and now they successfully took a city, so they're gonna go up the coast and cut the supply lines off and get to Carcedonia to get Castile, but also to, like, cut them off so that they can come to a peaceful solution. We have Castile's point of view, but at this point, like, we're on book 5 or 4. Why are we just now getting it? Why is it just now being introduced? And he's, like, literally just sitting in his cell. And really, like, nothing. She's had some more power-ups, I guess, and I'm blown away that this is still happening. So I don't really have much to say. I mean, I'm getting through it, I guess. It's just as easy to read as, like, all of the other books have been, but the fact that this is still happening is very confusing. Okay. Weird quality because I'm on my phone and the light probably is fucking it up, but I forgot to mention that she constantly does recaps of, like, the most useless shit, like who people are. She'll bring up, like, something that she's talked about in previous books, things that happen in previous books, like she's recapping, like, a TV show. And I'm sure it's appreciated by people who don't read the books one right after the other, but if you're looking at it from the fact that it's a series, it's a little odd. It's kind of annoying. Like, I've now read the same, like, 6 things over and over and over again as a recap. So, like, bringing up who Victor is, bringing up her dagger, how she got her dagger, things like that. Annoying, pointless, waste of pages. Also, I'm convinced that Jennifer L. Armentrout thinks that twists is world building, or world building is twists. Like, she adds twists and turns in her story by just, like, introducing more world building. Alright, I was gonna update you at the 50% mark, and my battery is gonna die, so 1 second. Lovely. Okay, here's the deal. I thought we were friends, right? I thought we were friends. I thought we were cool. I thought we got along. So I don't know why you let me believe that this was the last book in the series. Because there's certainly 2 more books. And this was horseshit. I am done with the series. Like, I'm not going to read the last 2 books. Every issue that I have said previously throughout all of the clips still stand. This is very poorly edited. It needs to be cut down. The fact that we continued to get world building and we're 4 books into this series and I thought this was going to be the last book. No. And, like, the joining thing, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Was Kyrian and Poppy's relationship, like, way out of left field and kind of weird, given that Castile was, like, her heartmate, and he's, like, super possessive, and now he's just like, yeah, that's fine, and he completely lost all character growth. and any character, like any personality at all. He completely lost it. I don't care that they all will end up together. I don't care about that at all. Like, I have no feelings about that, aside the fact that, like, this was supposed to be like this epic romance, and then the one leg was pointless, I guess. I don't know, just not good. And I'm like, this is not the series that I thought it was going to be, not the series I'm going to reread, not the series that I'm going to finish. And I have read so much of this series hoping that it would get better. Oh, even just hoping that it would be as good as the first one. Like, the first one definitely had its issues, but it was like readable, it was fun, and it just lost all of that. And I'm exhausted. I'm sad. I think that it just needed to be edited. I don't understand why it was allowed to be each book was allowed to be as long as it is, and why it's so convoluted and drawn out, and why yeah, I don't know. I'm sad. And I don't care, and I hate that Poppy became OP, and that like solves everything, because that's literally the worst aspect of poorly done fantasies, is like characters that don't have to practice their magic, and their magic just solves everything. It's like the fucking worst. And all of the characters just lost any semblance of like who they were. Not character growth, just like Castile just became like a stand-in for Poppy's wants. Like, anything, it was all Poppy all the time. He had no yeah. So suffice to say that this is like a 2-star series. I gave the first one 4 stars, and I gave the second one 2 stars. I gave the third one 3 or 2 stars, and then I gave this one 2 stars. So this series is just a fat yikes. But that's gonna be the end of this, because I'm certainly not going to be reading the last 2 books. They're not out yet anyways, but I'm definitely not going to be reading them. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I would love to talk about this. I would love to hear people's thoughts. If you don't really have anything to say, which is perfectly fine, I'm set out, I'm talked out, leave me a wolf emoji. Thank you so much for watching. If you are looking for more content from me, you can check out my Instagram or my podcast Instagram. You can also check out my podcast on all your favorite streaming platforms. It is a horror podcast. It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.